Life happens to her. They laughed and mocked her because she was not married and didn't have children. But she taught them a bitter lesson. Miss Ziri was known in her community for her quiet nature. She was not one to gossip, quarrel, or poke her nose into other people's business. Every morning, she would tie her wrapper neatly, head to the market, buy her ingredients, and return to her modest home to cook and mind her life. But in Eziala, minding your business didn't mean they'd mind theirs. From her youth, Miss Ziri had always dreamed big. She prayed for a tall, respectful, God-fearing husband, a man who would love her deeply and treat her like a queen. Why settle for less, she would say, when I know what I deserve? But life, as always, had its own plans. The men who came never matched her dream. One had money but no manners. Another was kind but lazy. Another was handsome but couldn't stay loyal. So Zuri waited, and waited, until time began to whisper that her waiting was over. By the time she turned 40, the suitors disappeared completely. The gifts stopped. The proposals ended. The world grew silent. Still, Zuri refused to despair. She cooked her favorite meals, played soft music in her little compound, and smiled through her loneliness. But peace was a luxury she couldn't afford because the women of Eziala wouldn't let her rest. At every gathering, they found a way to remind her of her failure. "Ah, Miss Zuri, when are we coming for your naming ceremony?" one would ask with fake laughter. Another would hiss and say, "Better hurry before menopause locks the door." Zuri would smile politely and walk away, but each word bruised her spirit. And when night came, she'd cry quietly into her pillow until her eyes were swollen. Then came the day she snapped. At a village meeting, one loud woman known for her sharp tongue shouted in anger, "Please, Ziri, shut up there. What do you know about being a real woman? You have no husband, no child. You're just wasting space." The crowd went silent, then laughter broke out. Ziri stood frozen, her face burning with shame. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat in darkness, eyes red, whispering to herself, "They think I'm weak. They think I'm nothing. They will soon learn who Miss Ziri truly is." The next morning, she packed a small bag and left the village. Her destination, Mama Grace, her late mother's old friend, a powerful woman known across villages for her mysterious herbs and wisdom. When Zuri arrived, she knelt and cried, "Mama, they mock me. They call me barren, useless. Please, I need your help. I want them to feel my pain." Mama Grace watched her in silence, then spoke softly, "My child, revenge is not a game. Once you choose this path, you can't turn back." "I'm ready, Mama," Zuri replied, eyes fierce. That night, Mama Grace handed her a small calabash wrapped in red cloth. Inside was a black powder wrapped with a red cloth. She whispered the instructions on how to use it. "Use it wisely," the old woman whispered. "It carries power and consequences." When Ziri returned to Eziala, she was no longer the same woman. Within weeks, she opened a vibrant roadside restaurant called Zuri's Spot. The aroma of her pepper soup and grilled fish filled the air. The music never stopped. The laughter never ended. And the men, came from far and wide to eat and drink. Music played, laughter filled the compound, and Miss Zuri smiled as money poured in her hands. But behind her smile was her secret. Whenever the husbands of the women who used to mock her entered the restaurant, Zuri treated them like royalty. She cooked their meals herself, sprinkling a little of the black powder in their food before serving it with her sweetest smile. From that night, strange things began to happen. The husbands who visited Zuri's Spot stopped rushing home. They stayed late, then later, then never left. They cooked, cleaned, served drinks, and danced around Zuri's restaurant like enchanted workers. Weeks passed. The same women who mocked Zuri were now crying bitter tears. Their husbands stopped providing. Their homes grew empty. Some even went to Zuri's place to drag their men back, but the men looked through them blankly and said, "Home? Which home? Leave me alone. I'm busy." The women tried prayers, fasting, and every form of pleading. Nothing worked. One hot afternoon, a group of them stormed Zuri's Spot. They found her sitting on a bamboo chair, sipping palm wine while their husbands served customers joyfully. "Zuri," one woman shouted, "what have we done to you? Why are you destroying our homes?" Zuri looked up, smiled slowly, and said, "What did you do? You mocked me, laughed at me, insulted my womanhood. Now you feel what I felt." Then she laughed, a deep, echoing laugh that sent chills down their spines. "Go home," she said, waving them off. Months turned into a year. The once proud women of Eziala were now shadows of themselves, poor, lonely, and broken. A whole year passed, and life turned better for the women of the community. Their homes were empty, their pockets dry, and their children hungry. With their husbands gone, there was no breadwinner to provide. Some tried trading, others begged family for help. But nothing could replace the strength of their men. The same women who mocked Miss Ziri now cried every night. One morning they were tired of suffering, they gathered courage and went back to Madam Spice Spot. They stood at the entrance, tears in their eyes, and begged, "Miss Ziri, please forgive us, we mocked you, we hurt you, but we are sorry. Please release our husbands." But Madam Spice sat in her chair, sipping palm wine, refusing to look at them. "Sorry, after all the years you have mocked me, after all the tears I cried, no, I don't forgive easily." The women did not leave, instead they did the unthinkable. They joined their husbands. Some tied wrapper and started washing plates, some entered into the kitchen to cook, others carried trays and served customers. For 2 weeks straight, they humbled themselves, working in Miss Ziri's bar like servants. Finally one evening Miss Ziri sat quietly watching them scrub pots and sweep floors. She sighed deeply and shook her head. They have suffered enough, they have truly learned their lesson. The next morning she walked into the bar with her small clay pot from Mama Grace. She whispered some words, sprinkled the black powder on the ground and clapped her hands. Suddenly the men blinked, dropped the planes in their hands and looked around confused. It was as if they were waking up from a long dream. Without a word they picked up their things and walked home back to their families. The women cried tears of joy, hugging their husbands tightly. They turned to thank Miss Ziri, but she only waved her hand and said, "Go and never mock another woman for what she lacks. Life has a way of humbling everyone. Respect others because life can turn tables when you least expect it."